So there you are. You've just finished IELTS Speaking Part 2 and it went quite well. But then the examiner begins Part 3 and asks you a question you have no idea about. And you freeze like a bunny in the headlights. What should you do? Well, come with me and let's find out together. Hello, my name is Keith and I run the website, the Keith Speaking Academy. I'm here to help you speak better English, give better answers and give a higher score on the IELTS speaking test. Great. If you want more free resources to help you with preparing IELTS, check out the link somewhere down there to go to the website. Now, today we're going to look at IELTS Speaking Part 3, some tips to help you succeed in this part of the test. Now, a quick word, right? Because tips are useful, right? But they cannot replace long-term study, right? If you're like me, you probably believe to learn a language takes time, patience, persistence, studying and practicing almost every day, right? For a long time. There is no kind of quick fix, really. Some tips can be useful, especially for exam technique, but the big focus you must have is on improving your English to get higher, and that takes time and what I called a lot of fun work. Some people say, oh, it takes hard work. Well, no, it doesn't have to be hard or difficult. It should be fun, right? Yes, you have to do it every day, almost every day, but lots of fun work. That's what I believe in. Great. Let's get into those tips then. Do you remember the bunny? Do you know what a bunny is? A bunny is a rabbit, right? The bunny in the headlights from the car. You've frozen, right? Your mind has gone blank. Nice expression. Bum. Your mind has gone blank. What should you do? Let's have a look. Tip number 1. Well, quite simply, right? Ask the examiner to repeat the question. This will make sure that you can, or help you to understand the question, or at least give you some time to think a bit, right? So you could say, could you say that again? Could you repeat the question? Or even if you actually didn't understand the question, then just say, can you explain what you mean? That's nice. Can you explain what you mean? Because you're asking the examiner to rephrase the question, but you're not saying, I don't understand, right? You're just saying, the question's not very clear. Could you explain what you mean? Beautiful question. Help you to understand the question. That's the first thing. I think in addition, in this situation, I would use pause and some kind of a filler or a signpost to help me. Pause is different from hesitation, right? Hesitation is when you're, yeah, That's not good. Pause is, well, I think, can you see the difference? The first one is terrible. The second one, the pause, is really good. You're controlling the space and the time, actually thinking about it. Of course, native speakers need time to think. We don't just have ideas in our heads, and you don't in your language. So it's fine to take ideas, to take time to think of ideas. Just pause, right? For example, how has globalization affected the food industry? Well, globalization affected the food industry. I think it has affected the food industry in a number of ways. First of all, I think, right? So notice, I almost repeat the question to give me time to think about it. I pause. I use a signpost or a filler, right? A signpost maybe, what did I say? First of all, for starters, in the first place, you may use a filler. Well now, let me see. That's a good question. I haven't thought about that. Just a minute. Okay, so pause, filler, nice, and maybe repeat the question. All of these are very natural ways of speaking which you should be using, especially in part 3 of the test. If you want to learn more about different fillers and connectors, signposts that you can use, check out up here one of my other videos focused just on that. Let's move on to tip number 2. So recently when I asked students which part of part 3 they found difficult, what was difficult about part 3, one of the most common answers and most common problems was, I can't generate ideas quickly. Right. Now, that may happen for 2 reasons. Either you haven't got any ideas, full stop, right? Or you have some ideas, but you just can't get them out from your brain, out into the world, so to speak. Now, in the first case, you haven't got any ideas. Actually, that's quite good because that's easier to solve. All you need to do is go out and steal some ideas. Go on the internet, get on the web, go and find 2 or 3 reliable sources. Look for the topics that you know might come up, right? And start researching, getting the language, getting the ideas. I would suggest some reliable resources just to, that have good English, for example. You may want to look at the BBC, BBC News site or the BBC Learning English site. The Conversation, great website, full of debates, current affairs, nice. TED Ed, which is the education branch of TED Talks. Some great videos, wide range of topics. They have transcripts, so you can also read as well as listen to spoken English. And that's the great thing about it. It's all spoken English. Wikipedia. Now, I know it's not 100% reliable, but it is, in a way, peer-reviewed. I mean, it is quite reliable, but it puts things in very simple English, easy to follow, and you can flick from one idea to another quite easily. So that's it. Go and find some ideas. Do your research as part of your study. You could also, if you're not sure where to go to my website, download the listening and reading material PDF. It's free. It's full of links to lots of reading and listening material on 10 of the most common topics in IELTS speaking. Now, in the second case, where you actually do have some ideas, but you can't get them out into the world, then you need to practice thinking on your feet. That's a lovely expression, to think on your feet. What does that mean? Well, it just means to think quickly, right? So you need to practice thinking quickly. And a really good way of doing that is to use the recorded IELTS mock tests. Now, I've done a bunch of these on my website. Here's an example, right? Have a look at this. You go to this web page, you can see it's a recording of me asking the questions, and there is time for you to answer.
Hello, welcome to the IELTS speaking test. My name is Keith. Can you tell me your full name, please? Right, and what can I call you? Okay, great.
And then I come and ask you the next question. So it's like you're in the exam. You've got the time limit, the time pressure. You have to think quickly. It's really good practice. There's a lot of these on the website. Some of the links, again, below, you can go and check them out. So I guess the key thing in all of these different methods is that you are practicing against the clock, right? And that's putting pressure on you and pushes you to think quickly and to get your ideas out. There are some great tools you can use. I've embedded some on my website One of them is Wordwall. Brilliant website for teachers as well as students, but have a look what it can do. So those are some ideas to help you generate ideas more quickly. Ideas to generate ideas. Nice. Let's move on to tip number 3. So when I asked students again about difficulties in part 3, quite a lot of people said, listen, I'm nervous. I'm an introvert, I'm shy, I'm afraid of making mistakes. Right, so what can we do about you lot? Well, listen, first of all, join the club. I am a huge introvert, really, but I can handle it. And actually, I'm not afraid of making mistakes. I think I used to be, but I've learned that it's actually only by making mistakes that you learn to grow and get better. Now, of course, in the test, you want to make as few mistakes as possible. Absolutely. Let's talk first about mindset then, if you're nervous. So your mindset in IELTS is so important because so many people do badly because their nerves control them, right? So I really, really think it's important to enjoy the test. Right? Smile before the test, during the test, and at the end of the test. All the way home, keep smiling. Your feeling of enjoying the test will change all the dynamics in the test room and will help you so much. We learn and perform better when we are relaxed, right? A bit of pressure does help, but too much will crush us, right? So change your mindset. Think about enjoying the test. You know, a while back, I had an experience. I had to go somewhere I didn't want to go, right? Let's imagine it's the dentist, something like that. Somewhere that you're dreading, you're really afraid, and you don't want to go there. And I didn't want to go to this place. But on the way there, I was so nervous, I thought, what if I chose to go there? What if instead of not wanting to go, I thought, I want to go? In fact, if I had other things to do today, I would still want to go here. I'm choosing to go here. And it was amazing that suddenly taking a choice and saying, I'm choosing to do this because I want to do it, calmed me down. It was all in the mindset. It can help a lot. So think about that. Think about enjoying and choosing to go there. If you're into mystical stuff, it's basically accepting the now. That's what it really is about. But you need to practice it. It doesn't just happen. It's a skill you need to develop. Right, mistakes. So why do we make mistakes in English, right? In the test, one reason is, especially in part 3, students are thinking about the structure, right? You have teachers like myself who say, listen, you can have a good structure, give your opinion, say why, give an example. And so in the test, you're thinking, okay, opinion, say why, example, right? Keith told me, good, yeah. And you're thinking so much about the structure, it can cause you to make mistakes with your grammar or vocabulary, right? Now, structures are good, but sometimes it's good just to go with the flow. Just start speaking, see what comes out, and speak and just go with the flow. Let it happen, right? You're not evaluated on structure, you're evaluated on natural language. And very often, native speakers and non-native speakers just go with the flow. So if you feel that, that's really good, right? Feel that flow, it's really good in part 3. The other reason that a lot of students make mistakes, especially in part 3, is they're focusing on trying to use fancy, band 9 vocabulary, complex structures I have to use, right? And that's that's true, but there's always a balance between fluency and accuracy, right? The more you try and be accurate, then possibly your fluency comes down, right? Sorry, more accurate, less fluency. If you try and be more fluent, maybe your accuracy comes down, right? Maybe more mistakes. So you need to find the balance. My recommendation really is to speak at your level, right? If you're a band 6, speak at the band 6 level or just a little bit above. Push yourself a little bit. Don't try and speak like a band 8 or band 9 with fancy words that somebody has taught you which are super advanced, but you don't really understand. It's not going to work. You'll lose your balance and you'll make lots of mistakes on grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation. So try and speak at your level or just a bit above your level and get that balance of fluency and accuracy. Cool, right? Okay, now the other thing you can do, right, and this I guess is a tip, is to, when you're answering, start slowly and then speed up a little bit, right? Very often we're so nervous in part 3 questions, we just blah, 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 and we start speaking much, much too quickly. And it's often a good idea to start slowly and build up, right? So for example, have cities changed much in recent years? Have cities changed much? Well, that's a good question. I would say yes, in my country at least, they have changed quite a lot. For instance, nowadays there's a big influx of people coming from the countryside and they're all working in the city because there's a lot more jobs there. And so that causes, more opportunities, but it causes problems as well. Right? So you can start slowly and then begin to speed up as you're feeling the flow and you're getting into the flow and so on and so forth. Great. So these are some ideas about handling your fear of mistakes, but also your nerves as well. A final thing to mention, right, about mistakes is a common misunderstanding. And I think this comes from people reading model answers on websites that have been typed out. Most written model answers are written English, and actually we don't speak like that. But what students try to do is they try to speak like that, right? Actually, spoken English isn't like that. Okay, let me show you. Simple example, right? Here is a written model answer. My brother recommended this film. He thought it was hilarious and that it would suit my sense of humour. So I watched it on Apple TV. Now then, look what happens when we actually say this, right? And I'll put the script up so you can see what I'm saying. This film, well, my brother recommended it, right? He said, he thought it was hilarious and that it would suit me or my sense of humour. So I watched it on Apple TV. What's different? Well, we front the nouns a lot. We put the noun at the beginning of the sentence. We have restarts where we change our mind halfway through a sentence and change the structure. And we repeat a lot, right? We repeat things that we're saying, sometimes with a small change. This is natural English, right? These are not mistakes to worry about. It's the natural way we speak. Don't try and speak these perfect written sentences. It's not natural. And it's also very difficult to do unless you're a trained actor. Great. So lots of ideas there about mistakes and nerves. Let's move on to tip number 4. Now then, do any of the following comments sound familiar to you? Sometimes I can't explain my answers. The questions in part 3 seem strange. I have no knowledge on some of these topics. I don't know how to explain my idea. I lack vocabulary on certain topics. Sound familiar? Right? having knowledge, ideas, and vocabulary to explain a topic is a common difficulty. I talked earlier about researching, that's true. And let's talk about some other approaches here. So imagine the examiner asks you this question, right? Do you think the science of genetic engineering will be popular in the future? Are you asking me? Or Dr. Johnson over here? Right, now you've got two choices, right? You could say, I don't know. I don't know much about that. Right? Or you could do something slightly different. You listen to how I answer it. Do you think the science of genetic do you think the science of genetic engineering will be popular in the future? To be honest, I'm not even sure I know what the science of genetic engineering is. I guess it's got something to do with medicine, and it's related to the medical field. And so I suppose in that case, yes, it will be popular because obviously with COVID, research around medicine is very, very important for our future. But to be honest, I'm not really clued up on that topic. Okay, so what's the difference? The difference is in my answer, the second answer, I'm talking, right? Remember, the examiner's not evaluating your knowledge. They're evaluating your English. So even just talking about what you don't know is good, right? I don't know much about that. To be honest, I haven't thought about it. I'm not clued up on that topic. If it's this, then maybe that. And just keep talking, right? It's better to say something than nothing. So remember, the examiner evaluates your language, not your ideas. There is no right or wrong answer. So don't worry if it's the right answer. There isn't one. And say something. Keep it fairly short. You don't want to go all around the houses and get confused. But say something, keep it short. Great. Now, you can, in part 3, give some personal examples. So this sometimes makes it easier for students because they may not have a worldwide example for what they want. You can give 1 or 2 personal examples, but just make sure that not all your examples are about you, right? Part 3 is more about abstract ideas, but 1 or 2 are okay, right? For example, do you think the science of genetic engineering will be popular in the future? Oh, well, that's a good question. And to be honest, I don't know too much about it. But, my brother studied genetic engineering at university, and he thinks it's a really popular field. It's going to become all the rage in the future, which is the reason why he studied it. So it's not really my cup of tea, but he knows a lot about it. Right, great. Personal example, again, just explaining I don't know much about it, but I'm still talking, so I'm still being evaluated, right? So you may get 1 or 2 difficult questions. These are strategies you can use now and again, right? So let's move on to tip number 5. I've been listening, and some of you have said, how to increase the length of my answers. How to use complex language and idioms in part 3. The vocabulary I use is too simple. Please suggest good vocabulary which can be used for any answer in part 3. Well, to be honest, I don't have a magic hat to produce magic vocabulary, but these are all very good questions, and I think they all point to the same thing, right? The vocabulary and the language you use is a reflection of your level. You can't really pretend to be at a higher level, right? If you're a house, or if you have a house, you can't pretend to be a skyscraper. If you're a house, you're a house. What you can do is build day by day, week by week, to make your house bigger and bigger like a skyscraper. And this is what I mean. I guess my tip here is really advice rather than a tip. It's to focus on building your language day by day, week by week for the long term. There's no trick. You can't fake it, really. You can try, but most of the times people don't succeed. The much more beneficial thing to do is to focus on building your vocabulary. And a great way to do that is to focus on topics. Hey, that's what I do in the live lessons, right? Every Thursday, live lesson, 10 o'clock, Spain time. We pick a topic and we develop the language and practice the language for that topic. Keep on doing that for weeks and weeks and weeks. Keep doing it and you will get better and better. As well as topics, do pay attention to subtopics. These are important because your topic will give you some language, but the subtopics will give you a much wider and richer variety of language and vocabulary. I strongly recommend you check out my website, right? Look at the part 3 section. I'll just show you briefly here, and you can see different topics and different subtopics for part 3. And you can use these to go on the internet, do a bit of research for the different topics. Just look in Google, right? It will give you lots of links. You can have a look around and do it. Now, here's a tip if you have a speaking partner, right? On that web page, just download the PDF about speaking practice, and it will give you all of those topics and subtopics and 3 simple questions you can ask each other in order to be practicing and in order to respond. And when you find out you don't know what to say, then make a note and go away and study, or help each other study on that subtopic, right? A big focus on topics and subtopics, because your ability to develop topics and subtopics is part of your fluency mark. So it is important. So you can do that. Go and download the PDF, practice with your partner or on your own if you don't have a speaking partner. Great. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this is useful. Do go and check out the website, Keith Speaking Academy. Look for the part 3 page. There's lots of really good stuff for you there. And also, if you want to find out more about part 3 and listen to some sample answers and analysis, how to develop answers, check out my online course, IELTS Speaking Success, Get a Band 7+. It's just been updated with some of the new topics you will be getting in 2021. Great. Listen, subscribe, turn on the notification button, and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the video. Tell me what else you would like me to do in these videos. I need more ideas from you. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, everybody. All the best now. Cheerio.